Oh my God, the day is here. We're done with radio, Boy Green. We're in the digital space, man. Start pixelating, doing whatever you need to do, and start to feel more digital. I know you've been at it for like 5 years yourself, but I'm fully digital now. I feel like I'm electrically charged or something like that. Good morning, and welcome to our first live show of the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, or as we call it, at MC Show Digital, where you click on the little subscribe, which is right at the bottom of the screen, and be part of our little family. And you can like it. Hey, we say something you like, you go like. I wish they had a little hate thing, like when you don't, hate it, but you got to like. Right. You only can like. So when we're saying good stuff, when saying things you agree with, I suppose, or creating some kind of argument that you like, click on the little like thing, and then it'll give us some likes and let people know that people like us out there. Yes. Anyway.
I'm going to be honest. Even if they don't like what they say, I'll take a pity like. That's fine. I'll take any likes, however they come. I won't. I won't discriminate against any kind of.
And by the way, just a little, have a little fun with our viewers and listeners now. So you've been working. You've been doing your Jet Show, which you do every morning at 7:00. From essentially your little man cave there.
Yes.
For the last 5+ years. I know it's built up over the years. It used to be like one little thing behind you, and now you've got an entire bookshelf.
That's true.
Meanwhile, when we were doing digital content, was secretly, I'll let the cat out of the bag, secretly,
okay. Right.
Secretly working out of essentially my bedroom. I mean, I had a corner of the bedroom, and had a little signage like the sign you see behind me here. If I can get my thumb going in the right direction. It's like doing the green screen in the weather. All right. With a little sign behind me, and so on and so forth, and a little bit of lighting, and all of a sudden you look like you've been transported to another world. Mm-hmm. But the lovely was like, you're going to be doing this a lot more. I really don't want you in the bedroom. And I was like, okay, I guess we got to figure something else out. So luckily my son has vacated the premises, school time and beyond, now that he's down living in Queens, my son Isaiah. And so we do have an extra bedroom now that's not being used for anything other than if someone stays over. And so now I've built out a little bit of a corner of the bedroom for my nice little home studio. And hey, how does it look, Boy Green? I got some of the fat heads from the studio, as you see in the background there. Obviously, I brought home the sign. That's been part of the situation here. So we don't need that anywhere else. And there'll probably be some new signage before too long. I mean, eventually, I'll have the fancy bookshelf like you. But, in the meantime, I have something to work with here.
That's true. And, I like it, Lerch. You're adapting to this new world. I was going to ask you if it feels any different because, right now we'd normally be on the radio show right now, but that doesn't happen anymore. And Brent Axe, who does the Syracuse podcast and so many other things here locally in the Syracuse area, he talked about sort of this adrenaline rush that normally hits for him on the block was 4 to 6. And then for us at 10 o'clock. And now we're unlocking it in a new way. It's just, it's just very, very different.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Critiques coming in already. John critiquing in better backlighting is required. All right, John, I guess I haven't worked a 3-point lighting situation here. I'll see if I can bring some of my colleagues from some of the colleges over and get this thing working. I thought the lighting situation was okay. He's not liking the lighting situation.
We're massive respect Hep, who is a musician extraordinaire, which is great to have him in the chat and so many others.
Yes.
So shout out to the people that are watching live. We're streaming live right now on the Manchild Show Boy Green digital YouTube channel. Yes, thank you. My Boy Green YouTube channel that you guys know. And, of course, our Facebook page, the Manchild Show Boy Green Digital. But I also want to give a massive shout-out to the people that watch after the fact. I know there's going to be a lot of people that join us live and can at 11 o'clock in the morning, but some people can't. So shout-out to you guys as well. That same action is required. Like the video and hit subscribe whether you're watching live or after the fact. We appreciate it.
The good thing is that, literally in the digital world, as most of you who are in the digital platform know, it's on demand. So sure, be here with us live, interact with us. We'll throw your comments up on the screen. We might even eventually take some video calls where you'll be like the third box and we'll talk to you very directly. We're definitely looking forward to doing that as we kind of evolve here in the digital space. But if you're not here right now, it's cool because you can listen to us later. One of those FedEx guys, you got your lunch break and you want to, take in a little sports and a little bit of entertainment. Well, then you bump on over to @MC Show Digital. And if you subscribe, it's even better. If you click the notification notifications, it's even better than that because then you know when we're putting out stuff. For instance, tomorrow morning at 11, we're dropping an interview that we did with Ed Valentine, our Big Blue View guy, our Giants insider. We broke down minicamp with him. And so that interview is coming your way tomorrow morning. Get ready.
Exactly. So whether we're live or after the fact, or whether we're live or doing pre-recorded videos or whatever have you of having this stuff ready, make sure you guys again hit that bell notification for all of it. So shout out to everyone who's watching live. I see R&R in here. Heck,
Indy says I don't want to be seen on screen. All right, well then you can do the comments thing there. Indy Jets, thank you, no problem.
See,
I feel
that's
that way
the versatile
too.
nature.
Yes,
for people that want to, will have that opportunity. And for those who don't have to. It's a beautiful world. And shout out to R&R, who's now making this a new part of his day, channeling this pocket of time for 11 a.m. We
here we are. So we're getting rocking and rolling here in the digital world. We're going to do some live shows. We're going to start with a couple a week, and then we'll see if we can multiply that a little bit. But we'll be doing plenty of interviews that we'll be dropping as well in probably around the same time in the morning. I think we're going to kind of maybe make 11 o'clock kind of our little spot to drop things. So like I said, tomorrow, Ed Valentine, Big Blue View, our Giants insider, all about Giants training camp. And look, just for those of you who aren't familiar, and I know there's some of you in here probably who are, but for those who aren't familiar with the Manchild show with Boy Green, we were on the radio, Boy Green and I, for the last 8 years together, throw in another 16 with Bud Poliquin, my old partner, and we were radio. And of course, we used our social media platforms to put out much of our content as well so that people could get some stuff on demand. But now we're fully digital. Just to give you a sense of where we're headed, we kind of are, I'll call us like a regional sports network of sorts, right? Like we're going to cover the Jets, we're going to cover the Giants, we're going to cover the Bills. All three New York teams are in our wheelhouse. I'm a big-time New York Knickerbocker fan, so anything that happens with the Knicks, like the minute the Knicks hire a coach, look out. We'll probably go with a very quick live podcast and get right on it. Did they hire the right guy? How's it all going? So we'll definitely be doing Knicks, Mets, and Yankees as well, along with any of the other big stories that break nationally. So we'll try to cover a lot of different bases, and we'll see what a lot of you folks who are subscribed to us and are liking our videos tell us about the direction. I mean, obviously, we're here to put out content, and we want to make sure that content is stuff that you enjoy. So feel free to let us know what you want more of, especially when we do good stuff, and we'll see if we can produce some more of that content. So that's kind of my rule of thumb, Boy Green. We're not going to pigeonhole ourselves right away, but if we get demands for certain things, we'll jump on those things and try and give you more content in those areas if that's what you want.
Lerch, we've talked about this in the past that sometimes, in the radio world especially, me and you talk, we're like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about on Monday. Here's the show. Here are the guests. Here's sort of the theme. And then things happen and you wipe it all off the table and go, now wait just a second. And I'm not saying we have to wipe it all off the table, but Lerch, more trades in the NFL continue to pile in this morning from Adam Schefter. Yeah. So let's catch up on all of it here. There is so much going on.
Let's do that quick. Yep.
Yeah. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Miami Dolphins have executed multiple trades with each other for multiple players, including player-for-player swap. So this morning, Jalen Ramsey got traded from the Miami Dolphins to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The compensation was not immediately revealed, but most people assumed it was going to be for a late-round pick. Apparently, it is for all-pro safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is now going in the rare player-for-player swap. He is now returning to Miami, and if you guys remember, that's how the trade initially happened in the first place. That's where Minkah started his career, and now Jonnu Smith also has been traded from the Miami Dolphins to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's a lot of moving and grooving happening here live on the show, Lerch.
How about an old-school organization like the Steelers getting in the modern day groove here? I mean, maybe Mike Tomlin is feeling a little of the heat. Maybe that GM wants to, really shake things up a little bit. I mean, obviously they're bringing in your boy or your former boy, Aaron Rodgers there, Boy Green. Sure. I'm not so sure, but does he have one more year left in the tank? Maybe in a different system, could it work better? I suppose it's possible. Certainly we'll be watching it to see if it works because the choices were pretty slim in that Pittsburgh quarterback room. I mean, to go with Mason Rudolph to me would have been like, yikes, come on, Steelers. I mean, you got to try something a little better than that. So we'll see how Rodgers turns out. I'm not overly optimistic whether he's got anything left, but it wouldn't shock me if he went out and had a solid season for the Steelers. But for the Steelers to get in this end of the ocean here, where they are flipping, players from other teams and making trades and wheeling and dealing, this is definitely not typical Steeler world here for sure.
But why Minka Fitzpatrick? He's 28 years of age. He's been an awesome Steeler.
Not
I
really get
just,
it.
that one confuses me greatly. It didn't sound like the Dolphins had a lot of leverage. It was obvious they were eventually moving on from Jalen Ramsey
Yeah.
anyway. So the fact that they got a player for player swap for Minka Fitzpatrick
Yeah.
exchange for Jalen Ramsey is wild. So what a win there for the Dolphins, which is not great for my Jets in the AFC East of getting Minka there. And Jonnu Smith also, as part of this deal, got an extension on his contract for $12 million. So
Yeah.
obviously the Steelers are going all in. But I agree. We've got other comments coming in here on YouTube.
And that quickly on the Jonnu thing. So Jonnu is not part of that, right? That's a separate,
two separate
yeah,
deals.
okay,
Correct.
I thought so. Okay,
yeah, right.
Just
So Jonnu Smith gets moved from the Dolphins to the Steelers for a late round picks, a late round pick. That's all. And then separately, to your point, it just so happens the two trades are being finalized around the same time.
Right.
Also, Minka Fitzpatrick straight up for Jalen Ramsey. So wild stuff. It's hard to make heads or tails of it, especially the Fitzpatrick part, which doesn't make any sense to me. But maybe there's a greater plan here at work. Long story short, though, the Steelers are all in, and perhaps, as Indy Jet says, desperate. But good to sort of work in some breaking news. That's the great thing about a live show, Lerch. Whatever happens live, we can react to live.
No question about it. It's one of the great things. And when things break, we can just simply drop a live or put together something and get first swing at things instead of waiting, the next morning for our radio show to start. So yeah, there's a lot of little advantages, dare I say, to this digital world. And we're looking forward to living in this space with you and growing our audience. And like I said, trying to provide the kind of content that you really enjoy online. So I hope you do all jump aboard. If you're not already a subscriber, you see it down in the bottom right. You see all of our social media feeds, and you'll also see a place to click and subscribe, and certainly click the notifications once you subscribe as well, so you know them when we're dropping content. Well, Boy Green, before we get into like serious sports talk this week and in our live shows, there's some, dare I say, mop-up duty to do from our my 23 plus year radio career, your 8 years with me in radio world. And one of the cool things, I think it was maybe the highlight of the show, you had bothered me for years. Well, I brought it up. I guess it's all my fault. But
yeah, that's
on
true.
the radio, I had brought up numerous times over the course of the last 5-6 years that I was, craving to put together a Billy Joel, We Didn't Start the Fire, but a Manchild show with Boy Green / my old show name, Bud and the Manchild version, because we have had so many characters, whether it be callers, guests, topics that we've hit, unusual things that have happened to us on the air. And I was like, boy, I would love to put that all in a song. And that Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire, I mean, that's the ultimate parade of here's everything. I mean, Billy Joel literally does a history of New York and the world in some weird way in that song. So I thought, I got to do this. And I kept always talking about doing it, but I never did. And then we announced that we were going to step away from radio a couple of weeks ago. And you're like, well, are we doing it or what? Like, you asked me on the air, and I was like, ooh, put me on the spot. Like, yeah, all right. I said I would do it. I guess I got to do it. And so I went earnestly to work to get it done. And we put it together. And then I was lucky enough to find a local musician right here in central New York. The guy's name is Bill Ali. Bill is a guy that worked with me in radio years ago and still kind of dabbles in the podcast world himself these days with his partner, Jim Reith. And Bill is a really good musician, and I've seen him play in local clubs. And I was like, hey, Bill, could you maybe put this together for me musically? And he did. And it was an absolute, as they say, knock it out of the park moment. I know you enjoyed it. Why don't you just first give your initial reaction to hearing it for the first time? Because I said I was going to do it. I finally did. So did it live up to the expectation? Let's start there.
Yeah, it's hard to encompass 23 years going on to a 24th year in a 4-ish minute song. That is very difficult, but a lot has happened over the years. And like I said, there's obviously a lot of different eras of the show. You've had two partners across that 23 years, Bud Poliquin, who I used to read in the paper with my dad, and I was like, this Bud Poliquin guy. And then to work with Bud Poliquin, and then Bud Poliquin to reimagine his life, and then for you to make me your co-host, where if we go all the way back to intern days, I've been with you for 10 years and school and internship. I mean, it's been a wild ride. So to encapsulate that in 4 minutes is an impossible task that apparently you gave yourself. Yeah. And I tried to pressure you as that continued to build, and we figured out the end.
Very true.
How poetic would it be to finally release that song that we've talked about forever and to do it in this way. And the cool thing is in this digital world, Lurch, that we can sort of dive in deep on this thing. We have the ability to play that song for people that are here in our digital audience that's not heard it before, and to give them some behind the scenes access, which is a cool perk of this digital
So yeah,
world.
so what I wanted to do, I mean, there are so many things. I mean, even when Billy Joel did it, obviously there's just so much history and so many different things in it, right?
Right, of course.
So I said to you, like, boy, we didn't obviously on Friday on our final show really get to tell people about what all this stuff meant. I
Right.
mean, there's a lot of names and historical facts and
Sure.
silly things that we talked about on the air, but we really didn't get a chance to kind of, break it down, so like,
Mhm.
what was he talking about here? And there are people in our long-term audience that probably didn't pick up on some things. I know I sent the song off to my old partner, Bud Poliquin, and while he probably got 60-70% of the song, he was like, ooh, what are those things? Because those things happened in the 8 years since Poliquin left
Yeah, right.
radio, where he's only with us once a week, but not part of the everyday fabric of what we were doing. New interns, new situations, new
Mhm.
topics, so on and so forth. So how should we do this, Boy Green? Should we play the whole song and then go back and break it down? Or should we
Yeah.
just play excerpts, break it down, and then at the end of it all, play the whole song? Which way should we do it? You be
Yeah,
the guy. You
that's a
decide.
good point. I would assume that play the full thing so people could sort of get the
Okay.
flavor for it, because if you sort of break it down, I don't think you get the full effects. So to play it
I
and then
think you're
go,
right.
wait a second, what was this? What was this? And that's what the play-by-play breakdown is, Lurch.
All right. So I just think we do it. Let's
All
just
right,
sit back, relax. I'm going to take a few sips of water. It's
there you go.
about 4 minutes long. Bill Ali, again, the vocalist on this. And this is our version of We Didn't Start the Fire, Manchild Show digital version. You want to play DJ, Boy Green?
Yeah,
I'll let
yeah,
you pop the
I
button.
will. And before I do that, if you could just explain it to fans one more time for people that may
Okay.
not know what this is, what are we about to play? What was sort of in a a shorter explained version? Like basically, what is this they're about to hear?
I wrote my own lyrics to Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire, but everything in the song are people, places, and events and connective tissue to the 23 plus years that I did the Bud and the Manchild / the Manchild with Boy Green radio show. So this is 23 years of history in a song. I know Billy Joel talked about the world. We just talked about our little world. That's
Sure.
basically what it is.
All right, there we go. So
Here we
without
go,
further
baby.
ado, here it is, baby. Enjoy.
trying to fight it. Scott Sheever, Robinson, Doug Marone is back against Survivor. Brett LaBelle, champ sleeve, jump sleeve. Lyric name and missing now. Triple seat and quad seats. Vincent's on a rocking chair and Oates outside his porch. Liberty's 10,000 high as George went dead or alive. Intern Jay, hesitate. Chuck, Pat, Rob is back. Northern Lights on the stage. Two truths and a lie we play. Bud, scream, Halloween. I can't take it anymore. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it. We didn't start the fire. But when we are gone, it will still burn on and on and on and on. We didn't start the fire.
All right, so there it is. There is the whole version of the song, start to finish. Hope you enjoyed it. A wonderful job by Bill Ali, who produced this with a good buddy of his, Jeff Rosen. And they put it together for our Friday show. Bill had it to me on Thursday afternoon. I was starting to get worried. I was like, oh, man, the last show is tomorrow if he doesn't get this to me.
You've made all these promises throughout the week.
Yeah, right. I've been talking all week about it. Like I knew it was in the works. But Bill did get it done on time, and I had full faith that he would, and it came to us. But man, amazing how many references. And here's a cool thing, Boy Green. So I went through it this morning. All right,
Sure.
through the lyric sheet.
All right.
So let me ask you a few questions about this.
Ooh,
It's kind of fun
okay.
stuff.
All right.
All right. So I mentioned that this is a history of our show over 23
course.
years, and I tried to get in as many names and places and things that made sense to the things that we did over the years.
Mhm.
The amount of intern names that I mentioned in the song, Boy Green, I know you have the lyric sheet. Please don't look at it.
Yeah,
all right?
I don't. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, how many interns do you think I squeezed into the song? How many interns by name? How many interns of ours? We've had probably 100.
100
How
plus,
many do you
easy.
think I got into the song?
Interesting. Wow. I'm gonna guess, like maybe it's 6 or 7, maybe. 7.
7, right on the money. 7
What?
interns made the
Wow.
song. Unbelievable. You were so unsure of yourself. You nailed it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Wait. Let me give myself one of these.
Yeah. Beautiful. Give yourself a chime. Fantastic. All right. Let's keep it
Okay.
rolling here.
All right.
All right. How about callers? How many
Oh, boy.
callers, the people that have called into the show over the years, and again, we've had thousands of callers. How many callers did I mention by name in the song? I will give you this clue.
Oh, okay.
There were more callers mentioned in the song than interns.
That's
Here's
funny.
your clue.
That's what I was just about to say. Is
Mhm.
that for
That number is higher.
I don't know if whatever I was about to say was going to make any sense to try to explain the rationalization of it, but like,
Sure.
I could understand you just because again, I haven't broken down the lyrics or anything or
Right.
counted anything or anything like that. But I would assume you could just like say callers' names without much explanation and that people would understand. So
Yeah.
sometimes interns, I feel like, need a greater explanation sometimes of what
Perhaps.
their
Yeah.
role is. So, boy,
Plus, I was
mean,
looking for interns who stood out in some way.
that's
I don't
also
know.
true, right?
There are plenty of interns who were great that I missed in the song. So my apologies to any of those who watch this video or are watching right now. Go ahead.
It's a 4-minute song. I mean, there's got to be definitely double digit, but like, I don't want to go crazy.
Okay. So come on, throw a number down.
13, maybe.
Pretty darn close. 14 times.
Wow. Okay.
I mentioned callers' names. You can give yourself a
Nice.
chime for that. That's pretty darn close.
Okay.
We're going
Okay.
well.
I
All
like
right.
that.
All right. 14 callers were mentioned.
All right.
The most popular thing that I mentioned were celebrities / sports figures, people that appeared on the show. Like, for
okay.
instance, Mike Tyson. We'll get into that story in a little while.
Oh,
How many times in the song did I mention a celebrity or sports figure? I mean, obviously, being a Central New York-based show, we had a lot of Central New York based sports figures like Jim Boeheim, for instance. So how many celebrity sports figures? By the way, this was the highest number on the list.
Okay,
so you know it's more than 14.
Well, I'm glad you said that because my
Mm-hmm.
immediate gut was like, was Lerch more selective in this group? But then you really encompass all the
Mm-hmm.
words you just said, and you're like,
Right.
well, so the most. Okay, so I got to completely oppo think. I'm going to go like, I don't know. Again, it's 4 minutes and 20.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go 20.
Just a little high. 17
Okay,
celebrities or sports figures were mentioned in
all right.
our version of the "We Didn't Start the Fire" song.
All right.
And then how many regular guests? Okay, how many regular guests
like weekly
were
guests?
mentioned? Yes,
Oh,
like we have a lot
interesting.
of weekly guests. We have Brett LaBelle from Survivor, right? We have lots of regular weekly guests. Some are Giants insider, Jets insider, a Bills insider, a Knicks guy,
Oh,
Mets,
geez.
Yankees. Think of
Wow.
all those guys. How many did I mention by name in the song?
Okay, so by name, so it can't just be an indirect
Yes,
reference.
correct.
Okay.
No indirect reference. It's got to be direct.
I'm going to go like 5.
Not bad. 4. Boy, you are right on the mark.
Okay.
You found all this stuff before, man. You are
No,
nailing it.
I wish I could say that. That would make me. Well, I guess that would make me less impressive if I did that. So no, I did not. No, I had no idea what kind of questions, or that you were going to ask any questions for that matter.
See, I'm doing what you usually do. I'm giving, what's the? I always forget the word stats, but what's the word? Analytics. All right,
Yeah.
I'm analytically breaking
cool.
down the song. This is totally anti-Manchild and totally
That's
pro
true.
Boy Green.
Go figure,
All right?
right?
All right, last little quick questionnaire here.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
How many times was Bud mentioned in the song?
Oh, interesting. Oh,
My
boy.
old partner Bud worked with me for 16 and a half years. How many times did I mention Bud?
So Bud by name, no indirect
Correct.
references, not
Correct.
like a joke that okay, so I can't count those. So like shaven head, which we'll get into that.
Well, but if it said Bud's shaven head, then that would count.
Right, that would only count as one though, right?
Right. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's what I'm saying. I'm
Yes.
not trying to give extra references.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, he's such a. I mean, like I was your official partner, as you said, for like 8 years. I mean, he was there 17 some odd year. That's a lot longer.
One would think he got more mentions than you, and that is
I would
definitely true.
assume. I mean,
So
maybe,
how many did he
it's
get?
not. I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna go 8.
Not bad. Again, 7.
Wow,
7
just missed it.
direct
Okay,
Bud
impressive.
references. How
All
many
right.
times did I mention myself by name? Manchild
Oh,
or Jim?
wow.
How many times did I mention myself by name in the song?
Well, how egotistical is Lerch? So for the first 17 years, there was Bud and the Manchild. He got second billing, and as soon as we switched, he's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, buddy, my number one rule is it better be called the Manchild Show." I said, "Okay, geez, it can be the Manchild Show for God's sakes." So how many did you, when you were writing your own song? How often did you put yourself in there? I have no clue, but I'm gonna go.
Be honest with you, I wasn't thinking about it when I was writing it at all.
Okay. So I could read so many messages from that, but you're a humble, modest guy, so I'm gonna go like I don't know, maybe 4.
4 is on the money. 4 times.
What? Oh,
Nice. 4 times.
Unbelievable. Let's go.
Mentioned in the song. Mentions himself in the song.
Wow,
and then lastly, how many times was Boy Green mentioned in the song? I mean, I must have mentioned that's a number. Now, if you're going to get one, that should be the one, because when you listen to the song, like any person does, it's just human nature to say, ooh, how much did he get me in there? Because you were not part of the writing of this. I wrote this individually. So
I had
you didn't know how many times was I going to put Boy Green in there. How many times did I put you in there by name? Bud got 7 for his nearly 17 years. You got 8 years. I got 4. For all my time, all right? So much more modest than Bud, all right? Although Bud is much more, he's involved in much more of the stories of the show because of his unusual personality. How many times did I mention you by name? Last question here. Come on, Boy Green. Come on.
Wow. Oh, boy. I don't think it's too many, but I don't think it's too little. Like, I know that I'm referenced multiple times at least, so it's more than once. But all I thought when you said you were going to write this, I'm like, maybe I'll get in there once, was in my head. Is how I thought it would go. So when I heard it multiple times, I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to go like, yeah, right. If you were 4, did I make it more in than you? I don't know. Maybe my gut says 3, but I'll go 5.
5. That is incorrect. You only mentioned twice by name in the song.
Oh, okay. So I only thought of 2, but I said maybe there's one I forgot or something.
No,
okay, there you go.
Twice. All right.
Nice. Okay. Hey, there you go. Beautiful.
Oh man, we're getting some questions in here, so we'll deviate here from the song for a minute.
Okay.
Here's a quickie, Boy Green. How about a way too early prediction from NY NYJ 92. Way too early prediction. Jets, Pittsburgh. Who wins?
Okay, obviously there's been a
You
lot of
don't
action
really
today
even
on
have to ask
Pittsburgh.
Boy Green that question, do
That's
you? I
true.
mean, if you want
Yeah.
the objective view, NYJ 92, then you ask me. If you
But you're
want
a
the
Pittsburgh
non-objective
guy.
view,
That's not.
then
Wait,
you
whoa,
ask me.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, I'm
You're
not
a Pittsburgh guy.
That's not a fair thing to say. All right, let's
I've seen you in a
square this.
Steelers
No,
polo.
let's square this for the audience
Okay,
right now.
sure,
Okay,
right.
and if you continue to watch us here digitally, you are going to see this. Okay, I am what you call in sports a chameleon. All right, notice today I'm wearing a Mets hat. I am a Met fan. All right.
Sure.
No particular. I got SA company on my chest
Okay.
today, so no particular sports affiliation there. All right, just an outdoor company. All right.
Yeah, all right.
But oftentimes you will see me in a Giants shirt, a Giants jersey. But I also have a Chargers jersey. I also have a Knicks jersey. I have, and I have hats. I'm a big hat guy.
Bengals.
Thanks to
You're
my
Joe Burrow. You
my beautifully shaven head.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of hats, and I have hats of all different teams. You know, I have Chargers hats. I have Steelers hats. I have Giants hats.
Bengals hat you have?
Bengals. I have a Bengals hat. I have a Joe Burrow jersey, too. I mean, I'm
do.
very eclectic. I am not one of those people that just because I'm a Giants fan, that's my fandom in football, that I can only wear Giants stuff. And I also find myself to be, while I certainly root for the Giants, I think I'm very fair to other teams. When they deserve criticism, I think I criticize them. When they deserve praise, I golf clap them. Okay, I might not really go nuts, but I golf clap them. So getting to know me a little bit for some of you folks in the digital world that maybe don't and maybe are coming from Boy Green's feed, where he does a phenomenal job with his Jet show, you're going to have to warm up to me a little bit, but I'm just not going to give you, the old company viewpoint every single time. You're going to have to learn to deal a little bit with, dare I say, a little criticism when things go wrong. Like your choice of quarterback the last couple of years, not so good there, Jets people, not so good. But now you can root against them with the Steelers, and that's a good thing. Early prediction for me, though, on the Jets Pittsburgh thing. I'm taking the Jets. I'm taking the Jets in that early season game.
Wow.
Is that on the road or home for the Jets?
That is home. That is home.
Home. Then I like the Jets even more. And I do think the Jets will be stoked to kind of knock Aaron Rodgers around. So
no question.
Like
also, just because we referenced this earlier in the show, I'll throw this up on the screen real quick. Marcel Louis Jacques, who is of ESPN, that'll be difficult to see, I just noticed now, but I will just read it out to you instead, is the official trades of all the craziness from this morning. So the Dolphins traded away Jalen Ramsey, tight end Jonnu Smith, and a 2027 7th-round pick to Pittsburgh in exchange for Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 5th-round pick. So they moved up 2 rounds and then gave up 2 players in exchange for Minkah, the 1 player. So obviously they got a lot there of new stuff. But to the point of how about a way too early prediction for week 1? Pain for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to get smacked around. The Jets are winning that game. Justin Fields' revenge angle. Aaron Rodgers is going to get the business at MetLife Stadium. The Jets are going to win 34-3.
By the way, this is one of my old buddies, Kevin Williams. Kevin Williams and I student taught together at Lemoyne when I went and got my advanced degree in education and special education. And Kevin, to my knowledge, unless he has moved since, but I don't think he is, because he's one of those kind of loyalists. He kind of he kind of sticks to the program. I'm pretty sure he's still down in Naples, Florida. So I hope that's where you are, Kev. Okay. Verify that in the comments if you want. Sends this in. Jim, hope you're spending the bulk of your launch episode hyping up those Metropolitans. Woohoo! Or something along those lines. Yeah, not a good week for the Mets.
Sorry,
I should hide this. Put a piece of tape over this logo this week. I mean, we're still in second place, but it has not been a good few weeks, frankly. For the New York Metropolitans. So yeah, let's move right past that, Kevin. Thanks for that, Kevin. Nice. Back to Naples you go. All right. See you back. All right.
Appreciate that. I'll throw one up here. Shout out to Barbara, who's checking this out. Again, this is our first debut live episode here on the Manchild Show with Boy Green. Thank you, Barbara. Again, we're streaming live in 3 different places. The Manchild Show Boy Green digital Facebook page, which Kevin just checked in on. The Manchild Show Boy Green digital YouTube page and my YouTube page for at least the foreseeable future and maybe permanently. We'll see what happens. You guys will be able to check out the show also over here on the Boy Green side. But I definitely want to introduce you over here to my partner for those who are coming over from that digital side, and obviously there's people that are from Lerch's side that of course are going to be jumping on here too. So I hopefully you guys can enjoy this. We'll be live a couple of days a week. We'll have other content on the channel, so I hope you guys can check that out.
Yeah, and let me just bring this in too, since I'm talking about being some kind of unobstructed view here, Boy Green.
Yes.
One of the guys here is asking saying, all right, what are your unbiased expectations? Asking me directly for Justin Fields. I know some are excited. I'm not there yet. I think I'm kind of with you a little bit. I'm not quite there yet, but here's what I do like about Justin Fields.
Okay.
Number one, the Jets need to be with a younger quarterback, and they clearly have done that. They've exercised
15 years younger,
the demon, of Aaron Rodgers, and now they get kind of a quieter guy who just, he's still in the formulation stages here.
26.
He's still a young guy. I'm a big, just to put my kind of motto out there, I'm a patience guy. I think quarterbacks should sit on benches longer. I don't want to see them in starting lineups so quick, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been preaching that for 23 years on radio airwaves, and now I'm going to be preaching it here in the digital world. That's where I stand on this stuff. Let Jackson Dart sit, I say, for the Giants this year. But back to Justin Fields here. I mean, here's a guy who I think can really help the Jets. I think that your new coach is going to be a great piece of assistance here, because I sense wiseness in Aaron Glenn. And I can see him and Justin Fields really getting along. I can see this working. And I think the Steelers made a terrible mistake by not having patience with this guy. And the Jets might be able to reap the rewards of this. So I'm not totally there yet, but I like the move. I think it's a much better situation for the Jets at quarterback than it was the last 2 years with Aaron Rodgers.
And I would just add this in, that I believe Justin Fields, is he going to be a success or not? I don't know. We'll let the gods determine that. But I believe unequivocally this is his best chance he's ever had. The best offensive line he's played for, the best receivers he's ever played with, the best running backs he's ever played with. And will that guarantee success? Absolutely not. But we will see what he does with this opportunity, which I think is the best of his career.
All right, look, I do want to spend a little bit of time. We'll try to get at least through a piece of it today, Boy Green. This might have to be multiple shows to get through the "We Didn't Start the Fire" song. But I did, for those folks who are mentioned in the song and some of the stories that are mentioned in the song, want to kind of break down the song a little bit and tell people how I came up with all this stuff. Like, what does it all mean? I mean, Billy Joel, why did he mention Doris Day? Why did he mention, Red China? Why did he mention, Trouble in the Sewers or Bernie Getz? For some of you New Yorkers, you might know some of these things that happened in the world of history. So I thought it would only be fair to play a little piece of the song, and then I'll explain to you what this stuff is, what's it all about. So you're going to be the DJ here, Boy Green.
Yes.
Right? So you're going to play, and I want you to play the first verse right through "Now They Are the Mets," all right? And then I'll walk you through those lines.
And I will say this real quick as we're about to start. I think there's some sort of poeticness here that Lerch, We Didn't Start the Fire, you playing on your final radio show, recapping the history of the show and how it all parts together is an interesting segue to the new digital era.
I agree.
Where it's teaching the new people that are in here that may not be aware of the Manchild Lerch Boy Green
about our history
into digital, as they get to learn you and get to know you more, and as we assimilate these new worlds together. So I think there is a poeticness, like I said, to that as well.
So indulge, dare I say, a little bit. By the way, if you like what you're hearing, click the like, and of course subscribe. You see at the bottom right part of the screen. All right, Boy Green, Mr. DJ, take us right through the first couple of lines here up to "Now They Are the Mets."
Here we go.
Out of play, Daryl Gross, West Coast, Bill the produce guy, Jim Behan, Jerry Max, Scooters calling from the track, Sky Chiefs again, now they are the Mets.
All right, so there you go. First couple of lines of the song, all right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple to break it down, Boy Green. First of all, the first two mentions, Poet Joe, Dro, and Clay, two of our longtime callers. He actually called them Joe the Poet on the air, but I needed the cadence, of course. It's very important to get this Billy Joel lyrics on the money. So I had to flip it to Poet Joe, even though he's known as Joe the Poet. Joe the Poet used to call on our show for years and years, and he would always bring a sports topic in poetry, and then we would have to react to it. And he did it forever. And so that's why he got a mention right off the top. And Dro, his real name is Sandro, who lives in Clay, New York.
I did not know
that's
that.
the Clay part. All right. Is now a teacher in the central New York area and still a good friend of mine, even off the air. and he was another longtime caller. And by the way, Joe and Dro, rhyming, are both still friends, and we're friends all the way back. So they're from the same group of friends, essentially, that became regular callers to the show. The next line is 44's out of play. Boy Green, I think you know what that means. Why don't you explain to the audience what 44's out of play might mean to those who are not Syracuse fans and are maybe not native Central New Yorkers, since our audience obviously spreads well beyond. My buddy Kevin, who is, by the way, still down in Naples at the same school, he replied in the comments. Go ahead, Boy Green.
I feel like this is important to explain because when we did a thank you video, which is also available on the MC Show digital page, Don Munson, the voice of the Clemson Tigers, celebrated you, Lerch, for 24 years. He said, "Oh, 24, that's a good number. That's hanging from the rafters." And I'm like, 24 hanging from the rafters. I'm like, Don, that's 44. And boy, would that be a hell of a radio show run for 44 years. We will accept the 24 years, though.
Well, that's why he's the voice of Clemson and not the voice of the Orange. But we love Don. Just picking on him a little there.
Yeah, Don, thank you.
We'll have that conversation the next time we have him on this show, which we definitely will. Great
guy. Don Munson, salute to you for that reference. But of course, 44, the specific line. Number? Yeah, yes, of course. And the specific line, 44's out of play, is the legendary number 44 being retired, and the jersey number hanging from the rafters. With so many legends. We've had Floyd Little on this show before, of course, Jim Brown, who we've had on this show. So many legendary 44s in history have all been a part of that special number. So quite simple, tip of the cap to the Syracuse history and the mentions and conversations of that across the 23 years on the show, where we've debated whether or not that number should or should not be retired, which has been some good conversation.
Love the way I put that to poetry, and I thought that was a good way to say it. 44 is out of play. I could have said that a lot of different ways to figure out how to do that. The next line is Daryl Gross, West Coast. Daryl Gross was the former athletic director at Syracuse, who took 44 out of play, which is why it is sitting right next to 44 out of play.
Right.
And he was from the West Coast. He's from California, and I think he's back out in California these days.
Oh, nice.
After he was I don't know, was he fired or left? I can't even remember.
It's hard to remember the history.
He was here for a while and made a lot of changes, including for some of you native New Yorkers, that Syracuse should be branded New York's college team, which a lot of people downstate in the city didn't really love all that much. New York's college team. I mean, we're really not that close to New York City, 5-hour drive or 4.5-hour drive to New York City from good old Syracuse in central New York. And Daryl Gross started advertising at Yankee Stadium, New York's college team, the Syracuse Orange. And that got a rise out of some Yankee fans down there.
And I would also add in that I went to several of the MetLife Stadium games where Syracuse would play Notre Dame or one of those neutral teams, and they put that on the billboard, and that drew a few boos for the fans that were in the crowd of some of those games. So, yeah, that was a touchy subject, apparently.
And then the last line of the last phrase in that line is Bill the Produce Guy. And Bill the Produce Guy, again, another one of our longtime callers. He used to be Bill the FedEx Guy, and then he moved over to the world of produce.
Changed careers.
He delivers fruits and vegetables for a local company here. And he said, I'll call myself now Bill the Produce Guy. And it just had a nice ring to it. And I thought it really fit at the end of that line, Boy Green. So that's why he landed there in line 1 of our little song here. All right, second line. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, the only thing I would add is maybe, Lerch, if this show is a raging success, there may have to be a digital version of We Didn't Start the Fire for all the callers that may become as famous as some of these were on the radio.
Now that I've done this once, I could probably do it 5 or 6 more times. I mean, I thought it was going to be brutal. I actually really enjoyed the process. So it was a lot of fun to do this. All right, next line is Jim Boeheim, Jerry Mack, Scooters calling from the track. All right, so Jim Boeheim, we all know who that is. Okay, Jerry McNamara, now the coach at Siena, right?
Correct.
Long, player for Syracuse, and now assistant coach for Syracuse for a while, and now out head coaching at Siena. All right, simple there. Scooters calling from the track. Scooter is one of our regular callers, another caller reference there, and he loves to talk about the ponies, the thoroughbred.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, around Triple Crown time, he's always calling in around the Derby and the Belmont. He'll be calling in for the Breeders' Cup, which is coming up, I think, right later this summer. So Scooter calling from the track, I thought it was good. And it was a nice little rhyme cadence there. Kind of worked to his personality. Did you like that line, Boy Green?
I did, and also a shout out to Jim Boeheim, who joined us during our farewell radio tour week, which, by the way, you can find in our video section. There is only a still image because it was still the radio then, so you guys can listen to that full audio interview with Jim Boeheim. But yes, I did. I thought that was very creative. Of that, again, some of these colleges, right? Bill the Produce Guy. There's sort of like a uniqueness, creativity to the name, but sometimes you need that extra layer of description, which also feeds to us during the listing process. So that's great.
Yeah, and by the way, Stephen thrown in St. John's would challenge that line. He's talking about the New York college team line. So thanks for that comment, Stephen, about that line. I think you're correct. And it did upset some people down, dare I say, in the New York City area. All right, so that's pretty basic there, Boy Green. And then the last part of that line is Sky Chiefs, Chiefs again. Now they are the Mets. Go ahead, explain that real quick to our audience.
Of course, the work that I still do at the radio station now is our radio station, the Score 1260, is the AAA affiliate of the Syracuse Mets, which obviously is connected to the New York Mets. So they've changed their name several times. It's also because of their affiliation with teams change from minor league teams to the professional team. So long story short, just simply the history of it, of all the different name changes where now we reside on the Syracuse Mets.
All right, so there you go. Pretty simple. They were the Sky Chiefs, then they went back to the Chiefs. They were the Chiefs before the Sky Chiefs, by the way, and now they're the Syracuse Mets. All right, time to play the next two lines, Boy Green. Fire away.
Okay, here we go.
Pasqualoni De Leon, Mello is coming home. Easy, the NBA and the Intern Hall of Fame. Hate the drink, vaccine, pandemics got sports canceling. Boy Green's in the studio while Lerch is working from his phone.
Okay, there you go. Next two lines. All right. Starts with Pasqualoni De Leon. Anybody that knows Syracuse football knows about Paul Pasqualoni and his trusted assistant, George DeLeon, who were constantly in the news and really built Syracuse into a powerhouse post-Dick McPherson era of Syracuse football. Pasqualoni came on the Syracuse Orange staff he was a linebackers coach and then was promoted to head coach. A lot of people didn't know who he was, didn't think it was a good hire. He ends up sticking around for quite a while and had one of the best runs in history for Syracuse football. Some people wish Pasqualoni were back running this program years ago when we were down in the doldrums. So that's the Pasqualoni De Leon. The next line is Mello is coming home. Boy Green, explain that one real quick. That's pretty easy.
There's some great connective tissue there. You can see it over Lerch's left shoulder on the ear is the New York Knicks references for Carmelo, but also the Syracuse references, the 2003 national championship game, of course. So Carmelo Anthony, Syracuse guy, New York guy. I think we could all welcome him as New York's player, Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, there you go. New York's player, New York's ultimate player, Carmelo Anthony. Some people in Denver might have a problem with that.
Wow. Good point.
Where he started his career, was drafted by. Yeah, and the coming home, if you remember, many of us hardcore Knicks fans certainly remember, when Melo debuted at the Garden, the night the Knicks traded the whole team for Melo, all right, and he came over. The first night he played, they played that Coming Home song.
Yeah, right.
You know,
coming
home.
Yeah.
And so that stuck in my brain, and that's where that line came from. Melo is coming home. All right, so there you go.
I love that.
And then the next one is Easy, the NBA. Again, Easy is a caller reference from our show. Easy in Utica is his name. That's all he ever went by. And he loved to talk about the NBA. He's a Spurs fan, but loved to talk Knicks and all kinds of NBA stuff with me. So I gave him a little NBA reference there to reference the thing that he was loving to talk about when he came on the show. And the Intern Hall of Fame. So at the very end, just a couple of weeks before we wrapped up our show, I decided I wanted to create an Intern Hall of Fame, and I named our first two inductees, who were the current interns for us, was Paulie and Brian. Boy Green, I have to really kind of put the whole Intern Hall of Fame onto the map here. So in our digital world, I'm going to slowly but surely start inducting people into the
classes.
Intern Hall of Fame, so that it's not just two people, that it actually is classes. And I already have admitted erroneously that the first person I should have put into the Hall of Fame, I'm going to kind of like, not posthumously, but I'm going to predate, dare I say, Boy Green, because I can do this, because I'm the puppet master. I am the Wizard of Oz. It's my Hall of Fame. Therefore, I could be the Wizard of Oz. But I am going to predate your induction and make you the first inductee. You will be a solo class of one. All right.
Wow.
Before those guys get in. Okay. So
I appreciate
there'll be some other announcements on the Intern Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what I'll do, Boy Green. As we bring people into the Intern Hall of Fame, we will bring them on the show and let them get a spot to offer their little speech, their little
How
induction
touching.
speech. Okay.
Do you have any music ready to play them off stage if they're going
I'll
too
get some.
long?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
you
be
may
that.
need
Yeah,
some
we
of
could
that.
be just like at the Oscars, just turn. All right, okay, enough of the thank yous. Get
Yeah,
on with
right.
it. Yes,
Okay, there you go.
absolutely.
Okay,
All
good.
right, so there you go. So
All right.
intern Hall of Fame coming your way. As a matter of fact, one of the Hall of Famers. There he is, Paulie Beatty, in the
Wow.
chat today. Seems like
Okay.
pretty good, guys. He likes it.
Okay.
All right. So,
Paulie
Paulie,
Beatty.
announcements to come. You're already in. You got your certificate. You got your whole thing. And I guess we will give you. No, didn't they get a chance on the air to say something? They did. Yeah, they don't.
They
get
did. Both Paulie and Brian did.
Yeah, let's keep it to the comments, Paulie.
Oh,
You're not
sorry,
getting in a box with us to tell us how great it is to be in the intern Hall of Fame. All right, that's just not happening, pal. All right, and then the next line is hate the Drake vaccine. Okay.
Oh boy.
Hate the Drake is a reference to Brian Drake and his fantasy football team. We have 4 fantasy football leagues that we started on the radio show, which are going to continue, by the way, in the digital world. Boy Green, give people information about the fantasy football.
Oh boy. Wow. That is a whole story and a half, which
Yeah,
hopefully you guys are really going to embrace. And I know a lot of you are, because we have Boy Green fantasy football leagues on our side, but there is, I don't actually, let me see if I have the book right here. Yes. Okay. Here it is.
You got a book on fantasy football leagues?
I do. It's Fantasy Life, Matthew Berry, and a massive
Matthew
shout out
Berry's-
to Matthew Berry, who's the godfather of fantasy football. And in this book is all kinds of cool ways that you could spice up your fantasy football leagues. And it sort of like got the juices flowing of how we would ever do it if we did it for the radio show. And here's the long story short. We have 4 fantasy football leagues, have 12 people in each league. But the leagues are stacked on top of each other, from Champs League, Chumps League, Triple C, Quad Cities. And what happens is if you finish in the top 3, playoffs included, of any of the leagues outside of the Champs League, you have an opportunity to rise up. So you go from the bottom league to the third to the second to the first, and obviously vice versa. The bottom 3 teams in each league continue to drop down. So it's supposed to incentivize the people who sometimes have an off year. They don't just pack it in, don't set their lineup.
Right. Got to play hard to the end.
100%. So it's the proper thing there. And the fantasy leagues have exploded. There's been over 50 people involved with all of our interns and helpers and things of that nature. And we do live drafts. I think that's the coolest thing of all time, going out to a sports bar or a restaurant and having a big draft board live and being able to do it. The experience is unbelievable. And hopefully, like I said, we can all connect the dots here on the digital world so you guys can see that. So, yes, that is the fantasy leagues as they're all put together. Beautiful.
All right. And don't forget, like our video and subscribe. Bottom right, you can click on the subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and certainly set yourself up for notifications so you know when we're putting out material. All right. So, Hate the Drake, a fantasy reference to a fantasy team name. What a great name. Your name's Brian Drake. Why not have your team be Hate the Drake?
And that Seinfeld reference, Lerch, because you've always said in your stuff that this
Drake,
show is really about a Seinfeld thing.
Yes,
so it's almost a second level reference to the radio show. So I appreciated that.
Just saw that episode the other day. Love the Drake, hate the Drake,
one.
hate the Drake, love the Drake. People were all over the place with the Drake.
Yeah.
Vaccine, obviously, we know what that's about. Pandemics got sports canceling. We were doing our radio show during the entire pandemic. We never stopped doing it. Sports were being canceled left and right, and yet we were covering sports or covering whatever surrounded sports, including basically daily cancellations. Well, the Masters, Boy Green, won't be played this year. They'll try to play maybe in September. We'll see. All kinds of goofy stuff was going on. Obviously, the NCAA basketball tournament, which was just starting, that's literally when the pandemic happened, was like canceled in midstream. It's crazy. So,
not to go on a long story, just a shorter one, is that's when it hit me. When all this whispers about the pandemic, I was in a room with an unnamed producer at the radio station. And I said, Paul, this is a big deal. I'm like, oh, come on. This is swine flu. No big deal. This is going to pass. And then when the news came in, when we were both in that room together, the NCAA tournament's canceled. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, okay. That's a moneymaker. This is serious. If they've gone to that level, that's it. And yeah, for us to do a show in the middle of all that is a time I'll never forget. Driving to the radio station when I'm in the only car there, I'm waiting at red lights and no other cars are out. I felt like an apocalypto episode. It was wild.
It's crazy. And the last line is Boy Green's in the studio while Lerch is working from his phone, because when the pandemic happened, they wouldn't let us. We sit too close to each other in the studio. We don't get the 6 feet of social distancing. So they said, one of you has got to go. So Boy Green went and I stayed home, and I was literally working from my phone for the first couple of months until we figured out how to use technology better. We started a video feed. We started using audio from a service online that connected us that way digitally, and things got better. It started to sound a little more like studio quality. But the early stages, it was Lerch on the phone and Paul in the studio. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
Man. Never thought we could do a radio show that long. We had so few problems, which is crazy considering the primitive technology that we were using to do radio. You don't usually do radio, in case you didn't know, on a phone line. So there we were. All right, so that's it for that verse. We'll do one more verse here, Boy Green. So let's hear the chorus, and then the next 2 lines, you can end it at Song of the Day. Stop it right there.
All right, here we go.
Oh, we didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we're trying to fight it. Internet's in the car, driving through a snowstorm. Fruit Loops, Caddyshack, Tommy and DeWitt. Frank Bio, Leo Eisner, smartest people, Bud's Liz, Jamie's laugh. Song of the Day.
All right, pause it right there. Okay. So, good stories here, Boy Green. A couple of really good ones. Sure. All right. Intern Matt's in the car driving through a snowstorm. Tell the story. The audience needs to hear the story. We shared it once on the radio, but you have to share the story.
Oh my gosh!
Poor Matt.
Oh, poor Matt. He made it in the song, so I'm sure that makes it all the much better. But
by the way, Matt is one of our several interns who helps put together our shorts on our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out any of our shorts, go check them out. We have a whole bunch of them there. We're always posting new shorts. A lot of times from our interviews, we create new shorts. So you always want to be checking in on our shorts as well. Go ahead, Boy Green.
Yeah. For those who don't know, again, radio shows 10 to 12 Monday through Friday. It was stationed in Syracuse, New York. I live in Oswego, New York, and a lot of the interns that we bring in are also in Oswego. And for those who aren't aware of the New York map, that's essentially 45 to 50 minutes outside of Syracuse, how long it takes on a normal run-of-the-mill weather day to get from Oswego to Syracuse. And occasionally, for those who don't know, Oswego is one of the most snowiest places on the earth.
Yeah.
And
not too pleasant in the winter.
Yeah, it's right off of Lake Ontario, so you just get a ton of lake effect snow, which gets the weather all kinds of crazy. Long story short, as weather was hitting us, and it does occasionally, and it did this past, I call it semester/season, because of our internship schedule normally works with the colleges of when semesters coming in and out of focus. Well, we find out from all the lords above that, long story short, this radio show is not happening on this particular day, and we got to start canceling people,
our guests, right?
Yeah, guests, interns, everything. So there's a whole thing. So this was a Monday, and I reached out. We have an intern schedule. We have maybe 4 or 5 interns on staff on a given semester, and they each have their days. Some are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Some are Tuesday, Thursday. All these people are different days. And so I reached out to who I believe are the 2 interns for Monday and say, hey, folks, don't even start your cars. I tried to reach out early. The show's canceled. We can't do it. The show cannot happen. I'm so sorry. Stay safe. The roads are too dangerous. It's not worth doing the radio show today. We just won't be able to make it happen. So stay home. And I reach out to 2 people, and I'm like, well, okay. I think that's everyone's covered. We reach out to the guest, reach out to the co-host, reach out to the intern. Well, I guess that's it. And then all of a sudden, I get a phone call from intern Matt saying, hey, where are you guys? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm here at the station. No one's here. And it hits to me like a sack of potatoes. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
called the wrong intern. You called Zach, who worked Wednesdays and not Mondays, and instead of Matt, who worked Mondays. Yes.
We're going to get back to Zach in a second. But I feel awful. This role I've assumed being with the radio show for the last 10 years is I started as an intern. And then I sort of became this made-up title of internship coordinator.
You're the supervisor. You're the intern supervisor.
So I work hand-to-hand combat with the interns on trainings, learnings, all kinds of things. Vetting out their stuff to make sure that it's good for posting on social media and whatnot. So anyway, I thought I reached out to the right interns. Matt lets me know that I clearly did not. And I felt awful. So he braved a snowstorm to get to the station, all for naught because there was no radio show. I felt terrible. I apologized to him a million times, called him, texted him, everything.
Yep.
And he ends up returning home. There you go. DNY for life, a.k.a. Devin. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thank you. Yes, this is a new venture for those who are just joining. For people, it's not going to affect all my Boy Green Jet shows. Those will continue, but basically you get more of me if you wanted that or not, and also more of my radio partner here, Jim the Manchild Lerch, which is awesome. So I hope you guys really get to know Lerch throughout this process for those who don't know him and support the show. So this is going to be a cool new venture. You guys are going to really enjoy the content that's coming up. Yes.
Hey, why is there a doubt about you having hair? I mean, I'm the one that's follically challenged. I mean,
that's true.
You've always had hair. I know you wear a hat a lot.
That's
so
it.
People don't realize you have hair. He has a full head of hair, this guy.
I do.
Testosterone in that family.
Yeah, I've got lettuce up there. So a quick detour on this. Every Boy Green Daily show, I wear a Jets hat. I never do not wear a hat. I am a big hat guy. I love hats. I'm that sort of guy. But to be honest, what I will try to do in this digital world is to, first off, roll down the window and let my goldy locks blow through the breeze, obviously. So I got to do that when I can. But also, I don't know. Most of the Jet hats over there are Jets hats. So, on certain situations where I try to mix it up with a different attire, that may not go together.
Right,
so,
right.
let it flow where it flows. Anywho, I'll tell you real quick on the Matt story. So
Matt
goes back
driving
home
through a snowstorm. Yep.
So Matt goes through a snowstorm. But I want to ask you out in the universe. This is we can do this like lifelines or reach out for the audience answer. All right. So here's what happened. So I text 2 interns who I believe are on Monday. Right. One gets back to me and says, cool, thank you so much for letting me know. Another intern does not respond. That intern who did not respond, his name is Zach. And Zach tells us the story when we end up seeing him later in the week and the weather clears. He goes, yeah, I thought that was a weird text because I'm not in on Monday. So I go, wait a second, Zach. You received my text. You go, what's this idiot saying? I don't do the internship on Monday. But if he would have called me or texted me,
text you back and just said, "Hey, cool, but I don't work today," then you would have been like, "Oh,
that light bulb would have went off." And
it's
Matt
Matt's
would have never
day and not Zach's day.
Yeah, so that would have nailed it for me because most interns in our profession do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and Tuesdays, Thursdays. Yes. That's normally the only split that happens, but rarely or on occasion, we will try to work our schedules with the interns, and some of them preferred Monday, Friday, or Wednesday, Friday, which is a abnormal combination that we don't do. Anywho, if Zach would have reached out and told me that, Matt would have not had to brave the storm. I would have told him safely, but also it wouldn't have made the song, and the song's great. So I guess long story short, it all ended up working out, Lerch.
Yes, it was. And it's so typical, Matt. Is Mark chiming in, wild move by Zach. Yeah.
Very wild move.
Wild move.
Yes. And by the way, what a jerk.
Very wild.
But I catch all the heat. I look like the idiot that didn't reach out to Matt to tell him, and he braved the snowstorm. But Zach, he told us he was sitting with his mom when he got the text, and he audibly said it out loud to his mom. Yeah. That's weird.
I don't work today. That's weird. Anyway,
but he didn't respond to that. He didn't tell me that. He just told his mother and then put the phone back down and said, must be Boy Green. Send me a text again.
Got a snowman to build. Got to go outside. Build a snowman, throw down a free brewskis. That's probably what Zach was thinking. LOL for sure. All right. Next couple of lines here. Fruit Loops, Caddyshack, Tommy in DeWitt. So I'll go through these quickly. Yes. Fruit Loops, referring to the cereal, Fruit Loops. We did a cereal challenge bracket.
March Madness
style on our show, and it took many, many weeks to complete.
Of course.
And it got down to the championship. Who was Fruit Loops against? Do you remember, Boy Green? I think it was Frosted Flakes.
So yes, you're
Frosted Flakes versus Fruit Loops. All right, don't start screaming out cereals. I know you're going to want to scream, no, it's this. No, I love Wheat Chex.
The butter Captain Crunch.
All right, go ahead. Scream them out if you want. All right. Yeah. But those are the two that the fans voted, the callers voted
for the best.
The two in the championship game, all right, or the championship matchup. And then we decided the fate at the end in the championship. And I told this story about my brother, Bobby, used to love Fruit Loops. And when we get those variety packs where you get like the 6 boxes, the little mini boxes, he would always pull the Fruit Loops out and hide it somewhere so that his little brother, that's me, wouldn't get the Fruit Loops. And then we had him on the show and he basically denied the whole thing. Like, I misremembered my childhood. I'm like, brother, I know you. I know what you did. You were devious. Just stop and admit it. You're a grown man now. You're in your 60s for crying out loud. Could you tell the truth? And he was like, I never liked Fruit Loops that much. So the whole thing became a thing.
Yeah,
including having my brother on the show.
We did
choose
for the first time ever.
The champion, first time ever. He knows I do a radio show, but he didn't know anything about it. And like after we came on, he's like, "Yeah, that radio thing was pretty cool." It's like I've only been doing it for like 21 years, brother. I mean, good grief! Like he knows nothing about his brother's life. So therein lies the problem right there. So that's the Fruit Loops reference. Caddyshack, many years ago, before the Fruit Loops thing, we did an all-time best sports movies of all time bracket.
Yes.
And the winner was Caddyshack. So I tied together two winners of two March Madness brackets.
Smart. Okay.
One was Fruit Loops and one was back in the old Bud days. Might have been like year 3 of the show. Boy, where Caddyshack beat out, I think it was Rocky for the championship of
what movies, a bizarre
sports
combo
movies. I was like, wow. Caddyshack was just kicking it the whole time. We have a lot of people in Central New York, I guess, that love the movie Caddyshack.
I guess so.
So Caddyshack won that. And then Tommy and DeWitt is a reference to one of our longtime callers, Tom and DeWitt. And we sometimes called him Tommy. So that's the end of that line. And then the next line that you heard was Frank Beyer, Leo Eisner, smartest people, Bud's list. I give you that whole thing together because it's all tied together. All right. Frank Beyer and Leo Eisner are two Central New York citizens, okay, who my old partner Bud Poliquin knew very well. One lived on his block. One was one of his golf buddies. And he called those two guys, plus Jim Boeheim, the 3 smartest people in Syracuse. And from time to time, those two would call in, including and Boeheim was doing guest spots with us back in the day. And Bud would always say, these are the 3 smartest people in Central New York. And we always debated who should be on the list and who shouldn't be on the list. So Bud's list was Frank Beyer, Leo Eisner, and Jim Boeheim. So it's Bud's list of the smartest people, and I put 2 of them there because I had already mentioned Boeheim, obviously, earlier in the song. All right?
Earlier, right.
Jamie's laugh, he, song of the day. Why don't you take that one, Boy Green?
So you guys are going to learn this soon. I don't know if he's in the comment section right now or has he been, but there are going to be there's going to be several of our radio callers that join you digital people. Now, on my show, the Boy Green Daily, that's every morning at 7:30 Talking Jets, in the second half of every show, I open up the video phone lines, and you guys are allowed to call in. And so many of you that are populating the comments right now have called into that show, and we've all seen you, and we've gotten to know each other better and things of that nature. There are several radio callers that might make that transition, and Jamie the FedEx guy may be one of them. He is a guy that's sort of similar. We talked about it with Bill the produce guy. We have Jamie here, who is a FedEx guy, so he's in the car all the time, so he heard our radio show a lot, and he has a very what's the right politically correct way to say this? He has a distinct, yes. Thank you, God. So just
his laugh is basically he. I mean, I can't even do it. It's so ridiculous.
Right. It's hard to even echo. But again, when he eventually,
it sounds like probably he. You know,
like the joking laugh. Do you see in like a comic book? Right. Like
there you go.
Which doesn't even like no one actually has that laugh until we met Jamie the FedEx guy who actually does. So he is going to call in at some point. So it is a reference to that maniacal laugh, and he's a crazy fantasy football player.
All right, we're not going to be able to go any further, Boy Green, than the next 2 lines. So don't worry, we have many shows to come. We can finish out this song for people. All right, but let's listen to the next 2 into the next chorus, and I'll explain those items. We'll wrap it up on the song for today. Go ahead.
Bottom 3 fantasy, Boy Green's got a winning team. Mini golf, intern Joe, Jimmy trades out of control. Ballman, Poliquin, Oklahoma rooftop, beverage trucks, got butt block, trouble in the suburbs.
All right, there you go. Good lines there. Some very, very good ones in there. All right, so it starts with bottom 3 fantasy. I think you just explained it earlier, Boy Green, when you were talking about our fantasy leagues. If you finish in the bottom 3 in our fantasy leagues, you get demoted to the league below, and we have 4 leagues. So we're kind of like baseball. You got the majors, then you got AAA, AA, single A. You want to be in the majors, Champs League. That's where you want to be. Minors, AAA, Chumps League. Triple C is the equivalent of AA, and then single A is the Quad Cities League that we created just a couple of years ago. So that's what I'm referencing there. And then Boy Green's got a winning team. Well, Boy Green has had some winning teams. As a matter of fact, Boy Green and myself are the only 2-time winners in fantasy, and in all due respect to Boy Green, you've actually won some of the other leagues too. So
I have.
In total, I hate to admit it, have more championships than me in our fantasy football leagues. How many total do you have? I haven't counted them.
Yeah, I believe it is 5.
Is it 4 total? 5
but
total?
It may be 4 actually. Now that I think about it, I think actually it's 4. But
now I just want to go on the record, folks, and say he may have 4 total, but we both really have 2. And one of the reasons why he has more is because in the beginning, when we formed these leagues, I said, I'm not going to go down to that level and participate with people in the minors, man. I'm a major league kind of guy. As a matter of fact, I've never lost my standings in the major leagues. I've never finished in the bottom 3 in the, 8 or 9 years that we've done fantasy football. I've never finished in the bottom 3. So I just want that to be a point of pride, which is why I didn't participate in some of the lower leagues while Boy Green was always, because he had to facilitate the leagues. Now, this year, for the first time, I have been in the Chumps League for a while. This year, I'm expanding to 3 of our 4 leagues. I'm not going all the way down to the Quad Cities, not with those people way, way down there in the abyss. But I am going to participate in 3 of our leagues this year along with Boy Green.
Yes, I am the commissioner of each of these leagues, so to make sure everything doesn't go amok. If I'm not in there, I can't control it and see what's going on, so I want to make sure all these leagues go appropriately, and I will just say this. If any of you are watching the show right now, you're like, man, these crazy fantasy football leagues and things, and yeah, let's address this, Lurch, because this happened.
Quickly, better deal with this.
Yes. Lurch, and this is you addressing this. We do a live fantasy draft party every year where we're doing the draft, and we do a whole speech and spiel and everything all together. And you normally what we do is at the beginning of the night, we give a little speech, and then we crown all our winners, saying, the Champs League champion, the Chumps League champion, the Triple C, have your moment in the sun, bask, do a little dance. And Lurch, I believe I'm going to actually, I now know it. It was when we were at, oh my God, what's the Mexican restaurant called?
It's, hold on. I'll get it for you. San Miguel.
San Miguel. Lurch goes to the front of the room and goes, and let's congratulate our champion. And it's almost like it's like an episode of Seinfeld. And the camera cuts to Tatiana, like making sure she has her shirt right. Okay, I want to make sure I'm ready for this. I know it's me. Yep. And then Lurch goes, and our grand champion, Ryan Lee. And Tatiana goes, what the hell? I beat Ryan Lee in the championship game. And Lurch gives Ryan Lee, and Ryan came up to the front and does a whole thing.
What was that all about? Why did he say it wasn't me?
And Tatiana's going like muttering to herself, like unbelievable. Yeah. And Lurch, you just blew right past her, and Tatiana was like unbelievable.
Tatiana, I apologize.
She mutters this all the time. I'm going to be honest.
Anytime corrected me. Ooh.
Yeah. So anytime fantasy comes up, she does kind of mutter. Well,
I've been living with that baggage for a long time.
Yeah, it has. Hey, so apparently, Digital World is the place to unveil all of this. But So long story short, if any of you guys are interested in joining our fantasy football leagues,
tell people.
All the spots are filled right now. You guys want to be on the emergency
list. Get on the wait list.
100%. And there is a wait list. And if you are interested, when someone drops out, and it can happen suddenly out of nowhere, I want to fill those spots with people who want to be in the league. So reach out to me on all social media. It's at BoyGreen25, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can also do the same for the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. We're on all those portals. Our messages are open, so you can just DM us on any of those. And I'd love to add you to the list if you guys want to get involved on all this fun.
All right, so please do that. And don't forget, by the way, like our video and subscribe. Click on the subscribe button right there. At MC Show Digital is our YouTube channel. That's our kind of our home base. We also push it out to our Instagram, Facebook, and X feeds as well. All right, let me finish up this line, Boy Green. Yes. Okay, next part of that line is mini golf intern Joe.
Yes.
So Joe is a former intern of ours, and we had a mini golf tournament for a couple of years, and the inaugural mini golf tournament, which was played at the lovely Fairmont Glen in Fairmont, New York, was won by intern Joe. So I figured I'd give him some props. And we were recently actually trying to track down that trophy and found out that the year 2 winner has snagged that trophy, and we're trying to get it back in our possession. So it was kind of like the Stanley Cup. You're supposed to just have it for a year and then give it back, except the winner number 2 never gave it back. Joe gave it back. It back. Then we gave it to winner year 2, and that trophy has disappeared. So we got to try.
I believe I know who that winner is, so we will have to hunt him down.
Right, yes. We'll have to see if we can get that done. And then the next line is Jamie's trades out of control. And again, this is a reference to Jamie, the FedEx guy, who is in our Champs Fantasy League, and he is known as a crazy trader, and he's always proposing trades. You cannot be in that league without every single week getting a trade proposal from Jamie. He proposes trades every week to nearly every guy in the league. That's how voracious a trader he is. So there had to be a mention of that as well. All right. And then the next lines are Bowman Poliquip. Tell people who Bowman is.
Yeah, Bowman, John Bowman. We'll see if we get him here on these digital worlds. John Bowman is a MLB guru. He used to work for the Toronto Blue Jays. He has an analytical background. He's also a gambling guy in terms of he gives some betting advice on
On
things,
baseball. Yep.
which you guys can go follow him on, John Bowman, on all of his social media portals.
Yep.
And yeah, he gives you insights on what he believes are good bets and how you guys can make some scratch.
And then Poliquip is a reference kind of to Bud Poliquin, my old partner. What we used to do this thing in the show called the Poliquip, and I would pull a piece of verbiage from one of his former columns and
That's
read
awesome.
it and then make him explain it because Bud was the king of metaphors. So we had this thing called, and now time for today's Poliquip. And then we would do the Poliquip. And that eventually went out with the bathwater, baby with the bathwater kind of thing. Yeah. Next two lines are Oklahoma rooftop. Boy Green, you should know what that means. That's a story that not only have I told on the air, but I've also told to my students and usually share that story with my students in my sports broadcasting class every single year.
100%. This is, Lerch has had a very interesting journey of covering TV, doing radio, being back at school at Syracuse University, and covering a certain Syracuse, Oklahoma football game where, when you start off early in the business, especially when you're in college,
sometimes you don't get prime seating.
That's it. You get assignments, right, for covering a football team, basketball team, baseball team. I've had the great pleasure of covering a lot of variety of different sports at different venues, which has been really cool, and I'm very proud of that. But, yes, Lerch got the assignment for the Syracuse-Oklahoma game, which you got to be like, oh, my God, McNabb, Syracuse-Oklahoma, this is sweet. And unfortunately, Lerch on his, seating for said event was not what's the best way to describe that, Lerch? Actually, it was a benefit. They gave you a breeze. They made sure they had windows open so you'd have the full effect.
It was Norman, Oklahoma, and the only spot for us to do our broadcast for WAER Radio, the student station for Syracuse that I was calling the game for with my buddy Rhett Lewis, was on the roof of the building. We were literally looking down at the crowd. And we're talking about like a 75,000 seat kind of place in Norman. I think it's still the same stadium they play in today. And you are way the heck up there. And it was 95 degrees and hot. I mean, I don't have to say 95 degrees is hot. And we were on the roof. So, you come in suit and tie and everything. I was stripped down. My sleeves were rolled up. My tie was off. My buttons were down threefold. I was just sweating bullets up there. And my buddy, Rhett Lewis's spotting chart information, he put it down on the table, right, which was right against the ledge of where we were looking over to see the game. And within 5 minutes, his entire chart and all of his notes blew over the ledge into the crowd. I watched his notes just go bye-bye before the start of the game. So we had to work off of my spotting chart, and we had to call the game through binoculars because being on the roof, you literally, with plain 20/20 eyesight, could not read the numbers of the players. They were so small down there. So you had to call the game through my binoculars. Thank God I brought a pair of binoculars. So I always tell that story to my students. And I say, you have to be like a Boy Scout. Always be prepared in the sports world, especially when you're doing play-by-play, for anything to happen. Thank God I had my binoculars that day. We would have been done for.
Capacity 80,000 plus.
Yeah. So I was above 80,000 people. Okay. On the roof of that place. Crazy on a 95-degree day. And then the last line in that one, we'll end it here, was beverage trucks got Bud blocked. Trouble in the suburbs. Boy Green, have at it.
Yes. Lerch's former partner before me, his name is Bud Poliquin, and he's lived in a variety of places. And, one of his calling cards is arriving late to the show. Every day, not just every once in a while, like all the time of that happening. And as that happened for Bud Poliquin, he would always come up with these excuses, and it was almost like a kid saying, my dog ate my homework, it was this. And some of these excuses just sounded so bizarre that they didn't seem to make any sense. And he always talked about this beer truck blocking his only path out from his house, and thus, sorry, folks, I guess I can't go. And forever, I'm like, how is it? That is the most made-up thing I've ever heard. How can that ever be real? And then Bud invited me to his house, not for that reason to verify his story, but just because he's a nice guy, and I was visiting his house several times. And in the middle of us doing activities, we left his house, and I looked out, and there was a beer truck blocking the path, and I'm like, no bleeping way. And Bud says, I told you. And I went, well, all right, there you go. That ended up being true.
Yeah, Bud got blocked in by a beverage truck. and he was about a half hour to the show late that day. It was awful, awful time.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll stop it there, Boy Green. We've still got another bunch of verses. We'll have to get through this in our next live show. It's just too much song today. And I actually do have a 1:00 appointment today, so I can stay for a few more minutes. But I do have to digress out or exit out of our room here at about 12:30, the latest, because I do have to get ready for that appointment. But how about we mop up on a couple of news and notes in the sports world? I mean, obviously we made that big announcement at the start of the show about the Steelers and 2 trades they made, acquiring Jonnu Smith and then also shipping off Minkah Fitzpatrick for another guy in the secondary that they're going to bring in, Jalen Ramsey. Very interesting stuff that the Steelers getting involved in this kind of stuff. Let's just go circle back to that real quick, and let's talk about what the Steelers did here.
And real quick, I'll give a shout out here to Philly Noodles. Appreciate the $2 super chat coming in here.
Thank you, Philly.
He says, I will offer the most trades in the league. There you go, Philly Noodles.
So this is a way to maybe bribe his way into the fantasy league. By the way, we can be bribed to get into the fantasy league. Like, as the commissioners, we could just, say, listen, you just weren't that good last year, and we're just going to push you out here because, Philly Noodles over here is, he's supposedly a very good player. We have high expectations here.
So a sack of money and anything else, food, wine and dine. Feel free to do that, Philly. You can work your way in there. But hey,
I cut down my neighbor's bush yesterday. My next door neighbor, very nice lady who lives next door, and she said, "Could you take down this bush?" I said, "Oh yeah, let me get my chainsaw and I'll take it down." And she was so grateful that she said she was going to buy me some Italian food. She said, "What's your favorite food?" I said, "Italian." She said, "Going to buy me some Italian food." So yes, we can all be bribed, and I'd like that very much. Not only did I, use my sweat equity to knock down that bush, Boy Green, but I'm getting something for it. It's nice to get something for your time sometimes,
And look at you, Lerch. You didn't know that you were going to get something for doing this. You just did it at the kind of start, and now you are getting it, which is the best kind of way. So Philly Noodles, I know you're in our Boy Green leagues. Stay tuned. Reach out to me on the Discord, and we'll try to see if we can work you into one of our radio leagues. Because again, I can be bribed. But to go back to your Steelers point and having that there, Lerch, it's just sort of a wild trade. Someone said it earlier. Right. It's sort of hard to make heads or tails of it. Jonnu Smith makes sense. He's coming off this crazy career year with the Miami Dolphins. It gives Aaron Rodgers another pass catcher. They have a deficit with George Pickens leaving. Obviously, DK Metcalf is really spectacular. But Jonnu Smith provides another option, and he's super athletic. Makes a lot of sense. Getting Jalen Ramsey on the surface makes sense. You're going all in. But giving up Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey, that's where the Steelers lose me. Being unbiased here. He's a 28-year-old. You took him from Miami initially. He's been an awesome Steeler, leader, productive. That trade just doesn't make sense. And again, here's the other thing. I'm not saying Jalen Ramsey isn't good. He is. He is one of the highest paid corners in football.
No question.
But it was just so obvious that he was leaving Miami, which tanks your value. It in theory, it's supposed to. Obviously, it did not in this trade. Miami, I think, really won out here. And I think it's a good move for Miami. Obviously, Pittsburgh's going all in. If Jalen Ramsey can be the same corner he's been, it's good news for the Steelers. If Jonnu Smith can be that talented player he was last year for Miami as this athletic freak, it's good for Pittsburgh. But I think Miami's a really sneaky winner here.
Yeah, I think they're a sneaky winner here, too. And by the way, nothing to report. I wish there was something to report, but nothing to report, by the way, on the Knicks head coaching job, which continues to be a bit of an embarrassment, dare I say, for the organization, Boy Green. I proudly see those logos behind me over here of my New York Knicks, who got back to, dare I say, more than respectability this year, and now are right back in the doldrums of being the Knicks again by not hiring a coach and letting Tom Thibodeau go, coming off of 2 50-win seasons. Listen, we had some people come on the show. We had some Knicks insiders talking about how they felt, even well before Tom Thibodeau was fired, that the Knicks should make a change at head coach. And there was part of me that was buying into that, even to a certain degree. But the reason I was willing to maybe buy into that was just simply because I thought that they could get somebody who could take the team to the next level, or somebody that had championship pedigree. Kind of that jump, I mentioned this on the radio airwaves, from Rick Pitino to Pat Riley years ago. Nobody has any complaints about that change. I mean, Pat Riley had all that championship pedigree. But what the Knicks are doing right now, floundering, interviewing assistant coaches from teams, seemingly looking under every couch cushion to try to find a head coach is very unbecoming of a team that's just won 50 games and went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So this thing better get resolved soon. And I can imagine a pretty fiery podcast coming up, Boy Green, with me and you, if the Knicks don't hire somebody with some championship pedigree. I am watching this thing closely.
Well, the names they're looking at, Lerch, does not inspire much confidence. So hopefully there is a zig to the zag that's coming here inevitably in the near future.
Yeah. All right. So, look, we're going to have all kinds of chatter on all kinds of topics, as we mentioned today. So this is kind of our introduction, dare I say, to the digital world. And we're not only sports guys at heart, and we'll dabble around in quite a bit, especially in the regional sports of the New York area. But we also are kind of silly, funny, slice of life kind of guys. So things will probably come up of that nature, too. So I hope you like being entertained in a little bit of a different way. Kind of pride ourselves over the last 23 years of doing all kinds of silly things. I'll offer you some advice sometimes. I might offer you some life thoughts. I might get mad and angry at things. I think in the podcast world, I might be a little bit more calm, Boy Green, and less of a screamer. I know I've been accused on the radio of at times losing my cool, getting a little overly excited about things that I'm passionate about. But I can guarantee you, even if I'm not yelling, all right, there'll be passion. Coming from me in this digital world. All right. So it might not be yelling anymore. It might be passion in a different way. I have to figure out how to deliver my material differently.
Well, I'm all about that. Again, another reminder, guys, like the video if you're watching live or if you're watching after the fact. And again, we'll be live again on Wednesday at 11 o'clock, so I hope you guys can join us then. We'll have more content tomorrow at 11 o'clock. That's a good time for us, so make sure you stay tuned in there for some more content here on the channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss a video. I love this new venture we're going to be doing. Thank you guys so much for the live comments. So cool to see all you guys being in there, and we've appreciated the support on day one of this new journey in full flower, Lerch.
Now, I'll end with this, Boy Green, a Seinfeld reference. You remember the Seinfeld episode where Jerry's girlfriend was walking around naked in the apartment all the time, right? Yes. And everybody thought it was the greatest thing. George is like, wow, this is crazy, all this kind of naked. But then Jerry saw her unscrewing the pickle bottle, right? And then, doing some other work when she was naked, or sneezing naked, I think was one of the things.
Yeah.
And he was like, naked sneeze, yuck, naked pickle jar opening, yuck. And so Jerry got freaked out by naked. So I think the same thing for me with the screaming and the yelling. Screaming doesn't look good when you have video. In radio, you just hear me. But in the video world, you have to see me. And nobody looks good yelling, right? Nobody looks good doing that.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
I'll try and keep it calm. I never yelled when I did television. Remember, I did television for 7 years before I did radio. So I never yelled in TV.
So wait, so you weren't Stephen A. Smithing it, you're saying, on your television?
Right, correct. Okay. I was not. I was very calm, cool, and collected. So I think I can be that person to a degree until my Knicks do something crazy or my Mets continue losing baseball games. Then, my temperature might rise a little bit. Maybe that yelling and screaming will come back. All right. It's been a wonderful first adventure. Thanks to all of you folks in the comments. We really appreciate it. Again, don't forget to like our videos and also subscribe. It's at MC Show Digital. You see it down there in the right-hand corner as we're flashing through all of our social media portals. You can certainly join us in those worlds as well. I'll always push it out. But YouTube is kind of home base. So the best place to get our stuff is YouTube. And again, it's at MC Show Digital. Final thoughts, if you have any, Boy Green. I used to do it in radio. I'll let you have it here on the web.
Well, I appreciate that I won the custody battle for that in this new world of still getting the last word. Thank you, R&R, for the kind words. You guys make a great pair. Looking forward to the future. I've really enjoyed my partnership with Lerch. Again, I started off as a student with Lerch, and then I became an intern, and then a producer, then a co-host, and now we're transitioning into this new world together. I've been doing it for the last 5 years here, video digitally, and I've been doing the audio podcast game for like the last 15 years. It just feels great to be over here. You guys welcomed me with open arms 5 years ago. When I came over to the video world, and I love that we're doing it here for my radio partner that I now need to start calling my digital partner, I guess. Got to work on our labels for each other moving forward. But this is great. This is awesome. You guys are really going to enjoy this. And like I said, it's just more content directly to you guys, and I hope you guys really enjoy it.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, awesome. All right, and you've seen up in that if I can get my parameters right, this way, in that upper right corner, some of our wonderful sponsors, Play It Again Sports here in Syracuse, Box Drop, Syracuse Mattress, a great clearance mattress outlet for anybody that lives in the central New York area. They're actually a franchise as well. Bayberry Automotive, you saw them just pop up there as well, and Cam's Pizzeria, one of our longtime sponsors. Thank all of those folks for being part of our little dream here as we continue into the digital world. They've been very, very great for us in the radio world, and now here they are in the digital world joining us here. So we thank them for their partnership and their support. We would not be here without them. Folks, I guess it's Boy Green and the Manchild signing out. MC Show Digital. Subscribe today. We'll see you on the internet next time. Take care.